सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च ऋतं पिबन्तौ सुकृतस्य लोके गुहां प्रविष्टौ परमे परार्धे छायातपौ ब्रह्मविदो वदन्ति ये च त्रिनाचिकेताः So that is we saw this last time, and there are as though two Atmas with a big as though, because if they were really two, then we won't be here, correct? That which is two cannot be made into one, and therefore the Atma is seen as though two, based on the human experience, correct? And what is the human experience? Is an as though duality inside, and there is the witness which is away from everything, and then there is the participant which participates in the production of action and in the consuming of the results thereof. Correct? So there is a witness who is away from everything, and that witness, most of the time it is easy to contact. And when does that witness go absent without leave? That witness goes absent without leave in times of distress, in times of when the identification slips into the identification of the Karta or the Bhokta, or both of them. So therefore, Ritam Pibantau Sukritasya Loke. So that's therefore the word Pibantau is described. It's almost like two of them are drinking, but no, only one is drinking. The two of them are, as it were, implicated. They are not, two people that are drinking. So we saw that in detail. And then the next one. And who says that there is only one and the other one is a shadow? Who says that? The Brahmavid, the people who know Brahman say that. And also the people who keep the 5 fires say that. And the people who perform the Nachiketa Agni also say that. Okay? So why are we talking of all these three people, all these three groups of people? Because even in the first portion of the Veda, they know, when even people who are karmathas and who only practice the first portion of the Veda, they also know that this is a karmatha, means given to rituals. They also know that this is a means. They don't take it, the first portion of the Veda, as an end. And then in every sankalpa, there is an intention before the puja, dharma, artha, kama, mokshaye, for the sake of dharma, artha, kama, and then moksha. They will include moksha. even though that's the topic of the second portion of the Veda. So everybody knows this is a common goal for everyone, and therefore the next one talks about how to get to this place of understanding. Yasse turi jananam aksharam brahma yat param abhayam titirshatam param Nachiketam shakemahi. Yeah, so now there is, the Nachiketa fire ritual, correct? What is this fire ritual? What is this fire ritual? Yeah, who gave it to who? Lord Brahma gave it to Nachiketa, and it's a means of going to some heaven like Loka, Brahma Loka Prapti, which is on the end of samsara. That is what it is. So there are two bridges described. And Yaha Setuhu Ijananam. Ijananam is a Vedic form of Yajamananam. Yajamananam means the people, the one who identifies as I, the worshipper. Jajate Yajamanah. So the one who is the worshipper, the seeker, the one who is the Yajamana of the ritual, that which is the Setu, bridge, Ijananam, for the seekers. And for the seekers there are two kinds of bridges. This mantra is going to say this. Two kinds of bridges are described, and it depends on what you want, correct? Yeah, like in Eugene there are two bridges to go across. If you want to go one way, you go on that bridge. If you want to go somewhere else, you take the other bridge, correct? So here also there are two bridges. The first bridge is for the people who want to get some kind of a prapti, some kind of a gain in samsara itself, correct? Yeah. And who are these people? They are the Yajamanas. They want some kind of a gain within samsara, a relative absence of fear, a relative security, a relative sense of well-being, relative sense of well-being, freedom from sickness, freedom from small aches and pains, freedom from worries, all within samsara. So samsara is taken for granted. This is not a bridge to cross samsara. This is a bridge inside samsara to cross to some slightly elevated places where the sharks and the alligators don't come and get you. Yeah. And since the crossing is an action, correct? Is the crossing an action or not?
Yes.
Yeah. Since the crossing is an action, so what happens here? The action produces a finite result. And as a result of this finite result, what are you doing? You are there for some time, you are free of pain and sorrow, correct? Yeah. But then that's where the person is. So, yaha setuhu ijananam, for those who are, what are they? Yajamanas, for those seekers who want to cross inside samsara itself. Then what happens? Nachiketam shakemahi. So, the Nachiketa fire is a bridge for the sacrificers. Okay? Yeah. Now, for the people who are the fire sacrificers, the seekers within samsara, then they are directed towards, the signpost says, people who want Brahmaloka this way, towards this bridge, correct? Yeah. They are directed over Nachiketam. Shakemahi here should be converted into Shaknuvantaha. They are capable of, So there are two bridges now. One bridge is to get the worldly, some kind of relief from samsara, and that is called the Nachiketa bridge. And the other bridge, it is not, the name is not mentioned, is the bridge of self-knowledge. And this is the bridge that crosses the samsara. It doesn't take you to a better place within samsara. Okay? So, what does the other one say? Yaha setuhu, again you have to put the word setu for the next line also. Yaha setuhu abhayam titirshatam param. Titirshatam, it goes along with yajamananam. So the first one, who are the takers? The yajamanas. Who is the yajamana? The one who is saying, I am the doer, correct? So for them, the Nachiketa bridge is the bridge to go across. Whereas for the Titirshatam, Tartum Ichchatam, Titirshatam, the one who are desirous of crossing. Crossing what?
Bridge. Samsara.
Yeah. So the one who are completely want to get out of samsara, for them, it is called the bridge of Abhaya. The bridge of self-knowledge is called Abhaya. The bridge of Abhaya, which is what? Param. Titirshatam Param, the desirous of crossing to the yonder side. Then what is that? Where does that bridge lead? Brahma Yat Param. It leads to Param Brahma. The other one leads to, the other one is a bridge made of Aparam Brahma for better moments in samsara. It's like how to patch up everything within samsara and create a patchwork quilt and keep it going. That is all you can do, correct? That is all you can do. You just make up a quilt and keep it going. Yeah. And you have to have the finesse to respond to each situation in an innovative way. You have to apologize when you don't feel like apologizing. You have to, you get into situations and then run out of those very situations. You have to do a lot of things. So this is the negotiations within samsara, patching up in samsara. This is like a patchwork quilt, a very patchy affair. Yeah. In the afternoon class we were talking of patchy fogs. Now we are talking of patches, all kinds of swatches and patches. This quilt is a very, unsteady bridge. The quilt itself is a bridge because it patches one thing to another thing, and it's a very unsteady bridge. Whereas the other bridge, for the seekers who want to cross over to the side of fearlessness, is a pakka bridge. Yeah, pakka means it's now become an English word. Look it up. Yeah, P-U-C-C-A. Yeah. Pakka means solid. It's a solid bridge. Now it has entered the English language. Karma, pakka, all these things are now. Yeah. Pakka has become an English. Yeah. A pakka has become a pakka English word now. Yeah. So, one is a kacha bridge. Kacha means it's made of just flimsy materials. The other is a pakka bridge. Now suddenly after talking about Ritam Pibantau and these two fellows are in the bar and they are drinking the karma cocktail, why these two bridges are given? Because the Upanishad is getting ready to start a metaphor, to start a metaphor, because it's all a very tight metaphor, an allegory of chariot, road, driver, all these things. So of course the road and the bridges become a very important part of this metaphor. So therefore the second verse talks about that there are two ways, and this is another way of, we have already done this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this. We studied that earlier when we studied Preyas and Shreyas. But of course on second thoughts last week nobody knew what Preyas and Shreyas were and where they had heard of them. So but hopefully now you know, correct? Yeah. Where have you heard of Preyas and Shreyas? Right here. Yeah. What is Preyas? Moksha, correct? No. Preyas is not moksha. Shreyas is moksha. Preyas is, remember, how to remember I told you. When you keep on praying for something or the other, whether it's Preying, whether you are praying upon or praying for, that is called Preyas. And Shreyas is that which is the most exalted pursuit. When you understand that there is nothing to prey upon or pray for, that is your own nature. So these two roads are given. So Shaknuvantaha means we know how to do this. We are able to do this. And the Nachiketa fire is calculated to lead beyond sorrow in the relative sense for the performer of rituals. And then that which is the absolute fearlessness is gained by which is called the Aksharam Brahma, that Brahman which does not come to any change, any decay, nothing is possible with this Brahman. So for those people who want to cross over samsara, param titir to cross on the other side of what samsara, that also we can choose. Shaknuvantaha, that also we can choose. That meaning that really speaking, you can choose Param Brahma or Aparam Brahma. Aparam Brahma means what? Bhagavan as an object, finite. Aparam means not Param. The Bhagavan as an object to be invoked for the fulfillment of the desires. One way of invocation, that is the first bridge. And the second bridge is Param Brahma. To, Bhagavan as the nature of the very subject to be understood. The first one is an object of invocation. The second one is the subject is subjected to understanding as the truth of oneself. See the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Yes.
Yes? No?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So that is the difference. So therefore, the people who are into rituals and the people who are into finding some kind of relative satisfaction from the world, they will choose what? Aparam. They will choose Nachiketa Agni, they will choose Aparam Brahma. And so that is, Aparam means immanent. Param means transcendental. So two forms of Bhagavan. Immanent and transcendental. So that which is immanent, means that which can be invoked along with a particular name and form, Hiranyagarbha, Virat, etc. And or Rama, Krishna, like that, any kind of name and form. And transcendental means that which is beyond all names and forms, which is the truth of myself alone. So both those, so the people who take refuge in Aparam Brahma take so because that is all they know, that is all they can want, and people who take refuge in Param Brahma are the ones who understand what is worthy of being known, or is really themselves. So these, for these two people, the first verse has been given. Adi Shankara says in his things. What is the first verse? Ritam Pibantav. So these two, the so-called choiceless paths are there. Really speaking, there is only one path. If you don't know, you have to know. And so so that is why the person who feels kind of deluded is shown again Preyas and Shreyas, the margas, and then so for the sake of fitting in this chariot metaphor, these two roads are written down in a particular way. Okay? Next, we'll chant a few verses together. Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi Shariram Rathamevatu Buddhintu Sarathim Vidhi Manah Pragrahamevacha Indriyani Hayanyahuhu Vishayamsteshu Gocharan Atmendriya Manoyuktam Bhoktetyahur Manishinaha. So this elaborate chariot metaphor is set up. Very beautiful, very elaborate, because now we found that there are two wayfarers, correct? Who are the two wayfarers? Jiva and Ishvara is abiding in the same body-mind sense complex. So the two roads are pointed out, correct? The Ishvara who wants to know itself may take the road of Parabrahma, that is the road. If you want to know the Ishvara inside yourself, you take that other road, the higher road, the more exalted road. Or if you are still wanting to be immersed in Jiva-hood, take the lower road or the Nachiketa road, Really it's a choiceless choice. It's just given like that. It's a sarcastically given. So then the Upanishad, goes upon this very elaborate and beautiful chariot metaphor. And this is where the Bhagavad Gita, has taken liberally. And if you look at the photos of the Bhagavad Gita book, or sometimes they show this Gita Upadesha on a screen, painting or some kind of drawing. Sometimes they make it with embossed copper like this they show. And what will you see? You will see Bhagavan Krishna. Where is he sitting? In the front or in the back? In the front. Naturally, he is the Sarathi. He is the driver. Correct? So he is sitting in the front and there are 5 horses. Correct? And then he is holding the reins. And then you see in properly depicted ones, he is looking back. Arjuna is sitting behind and he is teaching Arjuna after holding the reins and looking back. And that whole picture is full, rife with imagery. And that imagery is all taken from this portion of the Kathopanishad. This is a very beautiful metaphor. Atmanam rathinam vidhi. Atma here doesn't mean Atma. Atma here means oneself. The jiva that is obtaining in this body mind sense complex, the individual. May one vidhi, may one know. May one know what? The Atma to be, the one that obtains in this body mind sense complex to be the Rathin, the Rathaswami. Who is the Rathaswami? The owner of the chariot. So the self is the owner of the chariot. The jiva is the owner of the chariot. Then if the jiva is the owner of the chariot, what is the chariot? The body itself is the chariot. Sometimes it squeaks, sometimes it creaks. Sometimes it leaks. That's all. This is the chariot. Yeah, his squeaky little thing. All the time some problem or the other has to keep on getting tuned up. Has to keep going to the shop. Yeah. And all the doctors from the neurologist who checks up the head to the podiatrist who checks up the feet, from head to toe the doctors and the specialists are waiting for this one jiva, so many doctors. Yeah. This is what it is, for this one body. So many specialists, from head to toe there are specialists. And somebody had an elbow problem and they went to the doctor, and they said no, the elbow. They went to somebody who did the wrist and everything. And that person said, no, go to the shoulder specialist because my knowledge only extends up to the wrist. I only do carpal, whatever, tunnel, yeah, tunnel vision, that's all. And then so the poor fellow, even in India, this is a story from India, even in India it's happening like that. So this poor man went to the shoulder one, and he says, I only deal with cuffs, the rotator cuff, and this is not falling under that. This is somewhere else. So you will have to go to some other specialist. Like this, 4 or 5 places he had to go till he could find a proper, kind of a thing. And same thing happened, even if you go to the podiatrist, anything that is above the ankle, they will say this is not our department. And so by that reckoning we have to say dermatologist means what? Knowledge is skin deep. That's everything is, these people are waiting for this one body. There are so many specialists. First there is general ophthalmology, okay, eye, and then but the person doesn't touch the retina. Then for that you have to go to a retinologist. It's endless. It's endless. So this body is like a Khatara Ratha. Khatara means jalopi. Yeah. Not jalebi. Jalopi, an English word. Which, when it walks, you have to be thankful. You have to break a coconut in front of Ganesha. If you are able to get out of bed, it's a miracle. If you are able to walk, another miracle. If you are able to sit, one great miracle. If you are able to eat, a big miracle. Really, that's how the body is. The second day is not like the first day. It's very fascinating. So this is called the Ratha. Shariram Rathamevatu. So then we have the indweller of the body, who is the owner of this body, and the body who's the owner of this chariot. And then this chariot is this squeaky chariot is called the body. Always needs an oil change and needs to be oiled all the time. And then what? Then we need a buddhi, correct? Who is the buddhi? The driver of the chariot is the buddhi. The driver is the buddhi. And then what is the mind? The reins are the mind. Manaha pragrahamevacha. And then what? The sense organs, what are they?
5 horses.
That's why 5. They are the 5 horses. And why are they called horses? Indriyani hayan ahuhu. Why? Haya means horses. Why? Vishayam stechu gocharan. Because they share something in common with the horses. The horses graze in the pasture, and the sense organs also go grazing in the pasture of the sense objects. And what is the pasture of the sense object called? Mall. That is a How do you spell mall? M-A-U-L, mall, where you go to get mauled. That is what it is. Yeah, your bank account is mauled, you are also mauled, everything. This is what it is. So, Indriyani hayan ahuhu, Vishayam steju gocharan, both of them have the same habit. The horses have the habit of just the wild horses. They like to go and graze. They keep on grazing. And these wild sense organs also graze in the realm of sense objects. Yeah. Think of all the restaurants in the world. So many cuisines. They call them cuisine. Means some specialties there. Means it's expensive. That's all. Yeah. As soon as you hear the word cuisine, then everything will be in 2 or 3, numbers, the figures, the prices on this side. So you have, Vietnamese cuisine, and then you have Chinese, and even now Chinese, there is Mandarin, and there is this thing, and Sichuan cuisine, and then you have Thailand cuisine, and then, Thailand cuisine, a little scary, this Thai cuisine, because everything has fish sauce, yeah. Features very, prominently. You have to be careful if you're a vegetarian. Yeah. And they'll have vegetarian fish only will be in the sauce, but still. So this is what it is. And then, then what else? You have Italian cuisine, Indian cuisine, South Indian, North Indian, this Indian, that Indian. Then you have southern cuisine and east, even in this country, southern cuisine and something, northern cuisine, and then Midwest cuisine, and then, and then a very confused cuisine called California cuisine. Nobody knows what it is, but everybody wants it, That is how it is. All for which? For what?
Great.
Huh?
For the senses.
Which sense? Only for the 3-inch tongue. That's all. Yeah. Because once you swallow, you may as well be on a feeding tube. But these 3 inches have ruled the whole universe. So many restaurants, new restaurants opening for this little 3-inch fellow that people don't even see. Even sitting in the mouth, this fellow makes so much, Yeah, such a demanding fellow. All kinds of tastes, all kinds of things. So many kinds of things. All for this 3 inches. Beyond the 3 inches, you don't even taste. And yet everybody wants to go to some new restaurant opens, they all beeline, This is what is called Vishayam Stechu Gocharan, Teshu Gocharan. They all go and graze in the various restaurants, the tongue grazes, correct? In various the, what is that called, sounds, the ear grazes. From rock and roll to classical to heavy metal and other things not worth reckoning, the ear grazes. And the eyes graze all the time. The eyes are the ones who are always grazing. Always they need to be entertained by something, And then what? The nose also, so many perfumes, so many things. I don't know how people tell the difference. Really, yeah. And so many expensive perfumes, I don't know what there is in them. But that is what people want. Perfumes and all these, what is that? Lotions and things, everything has to be nice smelling, and that's the kind of a thing. Vishayams teshu gochara. And then there is a special name that the Upanishad gives after setting up this imagery. Now, do we know what is in this imagery? The body is the chariot. The indweller of the body is the owner of the chariot. And then what do we have? The mind are the reins. The horses are the five senses. And the buddhi is the driver. This is the setup. And then this total conglomeration, Atma, Indriya and Manaha. So the five sense organs, the indweller of the body, and along with the mind. So the body, mind, sense complex has a special name by all the wise people, says this Upanishad. What is the name? Bhokta. Bhokta iti ahuhu manishinaha. It is so beautiful. Bhokta. Simple Bhokta. So this is the Bhokta. So Bhokta has been set up here by the Upanishad. Then we have a very nice discussion. Yeah, one thing which Adi Shankara mentions, we should see this before we go forward. And here he says that the charioteer is the buddhi. You know why? Adi Shankara says because the gesture, like the chariot has a guiding, charioteer, the all the physical work that is done. So like the body may do something. You may run, you may walk, you may eat, sit, but where is the direction and where is the control tower? That is the buddhi, correct? So the buddhi drives the body, therefore the buddhi is the charioteer, is likened to the charioteer. And then the mind is the reins, the bridle. And so that is what is set up. Yeah. Let's see if there is anything else in the Bhashya. Manishinaha, the discriminating, Bhokta. Yeah. Bhokta as opposed to who? Bhokta as opposed to the one who is a Bhokta. Who is not a Bhokta? Who is a Bhokta? Who is not a Bhokta? The one who is Ishvara, the one who is not drinking, is the non-Bhokta. The drinking one, we have to go back to the same imagery in the first verse. The drinking one who is drinking karma phala is the Bhokta, correct? Who is this Bhokta? The one who identifies with the body, mind, sense complex is riddled with ignorance. Because the Ishvara can never be Bhokta. The Ishvara in oneself is never the Bhokta. The self, Atma, is not the Bhokta. And, and therefore what? Therefore what? The self is not a Bhokta at all. And Adi Shankara quotes from another Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, like the person who is meditating. And so for a while this person meditated, and then some noise came from outside, and then the person was distracted. And then the person was asked, "Oh, so you were meditating and did you get distracted?" And then he explained, the so-called meditator said, "Dhyayati iva, lelayati iva." So really speaking, I was as though meditating and I as though got distracted. If anybody wants to make a quotation, you have to learn from Adi Shankara. Those quotations are such, always, I don't know how he finds the best ones to put them here. As though meditates and as though gets distracted. Because who is the distracting factor when everything is one? Who is the distracting factor? And when everything is one, who is the meditator and what is the subject of the meditation? What's the object of the meditation? Correct? So you as though meditate and as though withdraw from the meditation. So he quotes this in this particular place to show that the self, the Atma really performs no action. So who is this Bhokta? It's the Chaya. Who is Chaya? The shadow. Yeah, the shadow that takes itself to be real. The empowered shadow who grabs some time in the sun, literally, and then the shadow starts to think of itself as a separate entity and wants to secede from the Atma which is casting the shadow. It's like that. It's as crazy as that. So this shadow, is really, really speaking, there's only one Atma, and that Atma is neither doer nor enjoyer, dhyayati iva lelayati iva. So then only it says that if this, only under these circumstances, that there is only one abhokta Atma, because you can't go away thinking that this bhokta alone is Atma. Atma is abhokta, but here we are talking of the relative body mind sense complex associated jiva who doesn't know this. Yeah. And then what? And so if you want to, this is the only example, he says, Adi Shankara, if you want to attain Vishnoho Paramam Padam, which is going to be described later, the abode of Param Brahma, which is the truth of yourself, and that is the goal through which is, which is described through this analogy of the chariot. Then only, this whole goal and the goer become yukta. Yukta means appropriate. Because if right from the beginning we start by saying that the self is actionless, who is the goer? Correct? Because this teaching is directed towards someone who is struggling between these two, the shadow and the light. So therefore you are taking the shadow as a working example of the one who is the bhokta. We are accepting it, for the time being, that the bhokta is there, but the bhokta is also not the ultimate person. Correct? The bhokta resolves into the one who is abhokta. The karta resolves into the knowledge that I am akarta, like that. So that is what is being talked about here. So the whole setup has been made here. And then now we have two kinds of scenarios. And what are these scenarios are also described. Very beautiful. The scenarios involve a wonderfully equipped chariot, nice springy seats, good driver, and good driver with a proper GPS. What is GPS? God protection system. With a good driver, and then the person is well guided, and the destination is very clear. Correct? And the horses are well managed, and then so that is one scenario. And the other scenario is the one with the wrong driver, lazy driver, drunk driver, the one who doesn't know the road, the one who is slack in holding the reins, and so the horses escape, leaving the chariot in a ditch. All this is going to be described. So let us see what happens. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati ayuktena manasa sada tasyendriyani avashyani duštashvaha iva sarathehe. Yeah, so yahatu, the one, however, tu means however. So after this setup has been done between the chariot and the imagery and all these things, the imagery of this wayfaring jiva, and the road has been put, everything has been put, all the things have been done. And then what? Now the setup has been done. Now the journey begins, correct? And let's see how the journey begins. We start with the bad news. Because good news can be given later also, correct? So what is the bad news? The bad news is very interesting. The bad news is that yahatu avijnanavan bhavati. Avijnanavan means the one who is unskillful, lacking viveka and vairagya makes one avijnanavan. So at the level of the imagery, unskilled driver, correct? Yeah. And at the level of that which is, contained in the imagery, first is drishtanta. Drishtanta means imagery. Dashtanta means what does the imagery stand for? Who is this driver? The person, correct? So the person, the buddhi without viveka. Yahatu avijnanavan bhavati. And then what? So the buddhi is of course gone. The buddhi has started to graze along with the horses in the pasture. Macrobiotic buddhi. Anyway, so the buddhi has gone to graze, What should the buddhi be doing? Buddhi should be telling the horses, Arey, vapas aa jao, come back. Correct? Yeah, but the buddhi also has joined the horses in the grazing. Abhi kya kare, what to do now? Then maybe the mind will help. Ayuktena manasasaha. The mind also has detached from the horses. The reins have detached from the horses. Ayukta means no longer joined together. And so the mind, in other words, it's a polite way of saying. We have to look at it both in the terms of the drishtanta and the darshtanta. So in the terms of the drishtanta, the reins have come loose. The buddhi has joined the horses. The reins have come loose. Okay? And in the darshtanta, what is being exemplified? So here the person's buddhi has gone to sleep, meaning has made the wrong choices, lacks viveka and vairagya. And what about the mind? The mind has become unhinged. Yeah, unhinged. From what? From, being someone who responds, being an entity whose job is to respond to the sense organs, because the mind is the first level of, filter, correct? Oh, that sounds good, but do I really need it? The mind has to say that first, and the buddhi has to be the controller in chief and say, that's right, you really do not need it. Stop. Correct? Yeah. So this is how generally the thing goes. Then the mind says, no, I think I should go for it. Then buddhi says, I'm not talking to you, because you always get into these kinds of situations. And so therefore the buddhi has to have the last say. This is how in a proper body-mind sense complex, properly equipped, properly guided with viveka and vairagya, with discrimination and objectivity, discrimination and dispassion when they both abide. This is what it generally looks like. Buddhi gets tempted to go after the horses, and the mind says, no, you're not doing your job. Hold back the sense organs and report to me, and I will decide whether you can have it or not. So then the buddhi reluctantly draws in the reins and says, okay, put a little, there's a stay order from above, so let's not do this. And then the buddhi explains to the mind, I know you want it, but this is really not good for you. Remember what happened when you had this? Remember you had a stomachache for 3 days? Yeah. Remember that time when you had this same thing and you didn't come out of the bathroom for 3 days? That shows you have an allergy for this. So you cannot have it, I'm sorry. And the mind says, yeah, I had forgotten, thank you for reminding me. In an ideal situation, it's like this. But here we are having the wrong situation come first. So yastu avijnanavan bhavati. Avijnanavan means the one not without knowledge here. In terms of the driver, the one who doesn't have any idea of where the destination is. He's driving just helter-skelter wherever he wants. The driver is going. And then in terms of that which is exemplified, what is being exemplified? Avijnanavan means the buddhi that has no viveka, vairagya. So this is how we have to see the example. At the level of the example and at the level of what it is trying to exemplify. So then, avijnanavan bhavati. Kada? Sada. Sada means what? All the time. This is not a one-time situation. This is a deterioration of the mental faculties. A slow and steady deterioration of the mental faculties, wrong choice upon wrong choice upon wrong choice upon wrong choice. Yeah, this is sounding like a stuck record, but really that's how life is. So when the wrong choice build upon another, just like when you go to the dentist, they scale the teeth. So here they have to scale the brain because there is a lot of wrong choice plaque accumulated there. Yeah. So when the wrong choice become the order of the day, the right choice doesn't even come in the beginning. It's like that fellow who was told, he robbed somebody's, somewhere it had come, this story. He robbed one rich man's purse. In India only such stories can happen. He was a small urchin, barely 7 years old, probably under the, he's being employed by some dada in the neighborhood, some kind of a mafia don in the neighborhood. He's sending these things. So then the rich man who was getting into a bus or getting out from the bus felt something, and then he caught hold of this fellow. He was caught red-handed, literally, along with the wallet in the hand. So he made him cough up the wallet, and he said, you are so sweet. You're a tiny fellow. You're barely 7 years old. What are you doing? You have your whole life ahead of you. What is it that you want? No, I wanted some food, something like that. And he looked also very hungry. So this rich man took him to the little canteen and, and the boy ordered everything on the menu because he was, he had no idea. He was so hungry. He ordered everything on the menu. And then, what happened? So then he said, you could have just asked me. And the boy said that was not even an option. I never thought of that. And at 7 years old, that thought did not even come, Okay, if one is 87, one can understand because this life one has led so long, and then one doesn't think of any other choice like to beg or to borrow doesn't even come before the other one comes. What is that? Steal. Yeah. Beg or borrow was not even an option for this boy. And then the rich man, when he wrote this, he said he was so astounded, this man. And he said, how come it was not a choice? He said, this is what we do in our house. Father, grandfather, mother also. What does your mother do? And the boy was very honest. The boy said she works as a maid in many houses. But she's very hard working, the man said. He said, no, don't feel sorry for her. She doesn't she leaves the house very quickly. She just works there to be able to nab all the things. And before, sometimes they keep some rings or watches or small things. So she will take all that. And then, before they find out, she has to leave the house. She leaves the house. And then once a month on Saturday day, market day, we come and sell all the things. But then we have to go to a different town because what if the same people from this town come and see us? What a stressful life. But that's all the child has known. Always being worried about who will find, what will they do. And it never occurred to him that, you could ask, you could find, you could think of going to school, or you could, no other options came. And similarly to this fellow, who is this fellow? Ayukta manasa. Ayuktena manasa saha and avijnanavan. No other option comes. The block is so thick that the only option is to drive the chariot to a ditch. That's the no other option comes. Himself or herself doesn't have a GPS, doesn't even think of stopping and asking for directions, doesn't think of going to an ashram and asking for directions, doesn't think of taking a break and then driving when sober the next day. No, nothing. Those options don't come because as Adi Shankara is going to say in this, that it's the lifetime of conditioning. Many lifetimes of conditioning. Adi Shankara is going to say this later in the Kathopanishad. So many lifetimes of conditioning that any other option, any other possibility to straighten the life doesn't even occur because one is dysfunctionally functional. Yeah, this is what it is. So ayuktena manasasaha, the mind is unhinged. The mind already is called sankalpa vikalpatmakam, means that which has certain intentions and then it changes the mind. That which changes is called the mind. So therefore the buddhi has to be a good place, which is called nishchayatmika buddhi. So here this buddhi is not nishchayatmika. Therefore it comes under the spell of the mind. The mind wants to go behind the sense organs, which are here likened to the horses. So the buddhi also goes to graze in all kinds of pastures, dangerous pastures. This is the problem. So this is what happens. Avijnanavan bhavati ayuktena manasasaha. So the mind is deranged, unhinged in terms of choices, in terms of cause and consequence. And the buddhi is not what is called in the Bhagavad Gita nishchayatmika buddhi. Nishchayatmika means what? The one that has decided on moksha. Yes, that is nishchayatmika buddhi. And and in Bhagavad Gita it is called vyavasayatmika buddhi. And Bhagavan Krishna tells as early as the 2nd chapter, vyavasayatmika buddhi ekaiha kuru nandana bahushakhaha anantaha cha buddhayah avyavasayinam. For vyavasayatmika means nishchayatmika. Means you decide, make a commitment what you really want. You say, I want moksha. You commit to moksha. And then what you do, you can take the fast train to moksha. What is the fast train to moksha? How do you take a fast train to moksha? Sannyasa. Yes. You break all the bridges. You just say it's me and the sky. And then however I am kept, I will live. And then whatever happens, let it go. And then you just, spend all your time for this knowledge alone. That is what it is. That is one path. And the other path is the moksha milk run. Like the milk train that stops, like the freight train. Most often it is stopped. Little bit it will run. Once in a while when no one is looking, it will move. But it too is headed to the same destination, correct? Yeah. So you can take the slow train or the fast train. That's the only choice. Both of them are committed to knowledge. Both of them are committed to moksha. The destination is the same. The time taken is different. The number of stops is different. That's all. Either non-stops or many stops. That's all it is. So therefore, this is nishchayatmika buddhi means not that everybody is asked to take up sannyasa, but here take up that which sannyasa represents. Take that. Choose that which sannyasa is represented by. That self-knowledge you choose. And if you don't choose self-knowledge, bahushakhaha means your buddhi breaks into many branches, starts to sprout many branches of desires. You start looking like a leafy tree. And then what? Anantaha cha, unending desires. And many branches of desire start sprouting from the head and the heart. Buddhayah avyavasayinam. For the people who don't make this decision early on, then you go everywhere except where you're supposed to go. You become a restless wanderer. That's what it is. If you take, if you choose moksha, you become a wanderer because everything is a wonder. You discover the truth of yourself, it's a wonder. Otherwise, you just wander. Brahmyati, that's all. Everywhere just keeps, going round and round, deluded. Lot of motion, but no movement. That's all it is. That is this life of karta, bhokta and samsari. And then let us look at the bhashya. What does it say? So the charioteer called the intellect bhavati avijnanavan. And Adi Shankara says aviveki. Aviveki with regard to action and with regard to when to engage the brakes. This is Adi Shankara. When to engage the brakes and when to move on. Because when you're driving a vehicle, you should know when to brake, correct? Yeah. You have to brake whenever there is an obstruction. You have to brake when there is a dead end. And when there is a danger ahead, you have to brake. And when you're going at a breakneck speed, then also you have to brake. So these are the times where you have to apply the brake. When you are going to turn, you have to brake and then go slowly. This is in terms of the vehicle, and in terms of the buddhi also. When the buddhi is surrounded by temptations, you have to brake. When the buddhi is, going down the wrong road of adharma, you have to brake. When the buddhi is going to go to dead-end pursuits, which leave you dead-end, you have to brake. You have to take stock. You have to brake. And that buddhi which refuses to brake, where the brakes are dysfunctional, you keep pressing and nothing happens, that is called aviveki buddhi. Yeah, avivekini buddhi, the buddhi that has no viveka. And then ayuktena manasa, Adi Shankara says, a mind that lacks nigraha. Nigraha means what? Control. A mind that is not well managed. So first you have an incompetent intellect, and then you have a mind that is not managed. A mind that says never mind. So abhi kya kare? How to go on this journey? This journey is looking very interesting now. Yeah. And then, so ayuktena manasasaha, and then tasya, then when the mind and the buddhi are compromised to such an extent, can we say anything about the sense organs? No. Tasya indriyani, which are analogous to the horses here, the indriyas, are avashyani. And Adi Shankara says unruly, wild horses, he says. Like those ashwas that you should not go, like the ashwas, sometimes what they would do, this is all kinds of guerrilla warfare tactics in the olden days. Mahabharata time also we've heard of this. Is that, after the night nobody is fighting. When the sun goes down, they say till tomorrow morning there is a cessation, and then the next day the bugle, the trumpet and the kettle drums start, and that's when the hostilities are resumed. So until then they are on a break. So now in the night they would hire these special people to make the enemy horses drunk, and the enemy elephants also. They would mix some things in their brew, and because they were all open tents, these people were on that side, these people were on this side. So you steal into the enemy camp, and then you early morning, just before the dawn breaks, because they should not sleep it off. What's the use? It should be fresh in the system. So you nicely make the elephant drink some what is it called, the toddy. Then you make the horses of the captains and the elephant of the commander-in-chief and the king drink this toddy, and then stealthily come back to your own camp. And then when the war begins, what happens? They don't know where to go. They go all over the place. Uncontrollable, those wild horses, they stampede on their own army. In fact, they start the stampede right there, instead of going to the other side and holding the way the military horses and elephants were trained was to hold the chariot or the rider, whatever they had, the infantry. Here they throw the person off, and then they run around and then stampede all the rest of the horses and the soldiers. So the mind, is completely uncontrollable, and so the sense organs are like wild drunk horses, drunk with the desire wine for the objects. First they whine and then they whine, then they keep whining for it, and then what happens? They don't do very well at all. This is not going very well at all. So then these vicious so then the horses become dushtashvaha. Dushtashvaha means wild horses, vicious horses of the buddhi. So they don't listen to the buddhi at all. They become extremely wild and extremely untractable horses, and nothing can be done because the person has lost their minds. Okay? Yeah. So now the next one, thankfully, this is a bad scenario. The next one gives a good scenario. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati yuktena manasa sada tasyendriyani vashyani sadashva iva sarathehe. that we will take it up another time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Questions?
How would you translate buddhi?
Buddhi is intellect.
I have a question about this analogy with the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
There Ishvara is holding the reins, and
Yeah.
here it is the Buddhi.
Buddhi should be dedicated to Ishvara. That's the idea. That is the idea. Buddhi should subserve.
So,
Mm.
I have a question. You talked about the two paths. One, the jiva in form of form worship and reaching. The other
You don't
is
really reach with a form worship.
formless. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you have the formless.
No, not formless, which is you, which is the truth of you alone.
The,
Yeah.
the Paramat.
Param Brahma, which is you. Yeah.
So at any point, can you switch over from one?
As long as you switch over from the formed to the formless as you, that is the natural progression from the first portion of the Veda to the second portion of the Veda. That is okay. But nobody really switches first. They don't say, I'm into self-knowledge and now I'm going to start doing rituals. Nobody says that.
I meant
Yeah.
the other way. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I meant the other way.
So one way you can do that, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's see what is there online. Children are given, in our family and others, children are given ashirvad of getting good buddhi. Yeah, that is why now I understand the meaning of the blessing. Yes, why have you raised your hand? You have a question? What is it? Someone has raised the hand. Who is that? Desires, agonizing pain, ardently we fulfill. To complete is the call of the soul. To be complete is the call of the soul. A completion divine with the Lord it seeks. We heed not its desire. We silence its will. Drown in sensual misery, for which we forever cling. Nice poem. Yeah, good. How do we break? How do we learn to break? Yeah, that is where the free will comes in. You have to practice breaking. Yeah. So you have to practice taking a break, and you have to taking a break from the from the various pursuits that are not good for you. Yeah. That is basically how you take a break. And you have to just be patient with yourself. And it's good to break because the free will is there. That's where you have to learn to break. And sometimes if you're not able to break, then what you can do is you can look for, look for something else to do. If the desire is too strong, you look for something else to do and change the channel. That will help. Yeah. Is the intellect driven more by logical mind or the emotions? What is the intellect driven by? Logical mind or the emotions? Sometimes it is driven by both. Yeah, you have to decide because it depends on the situation. In the afternoon session, we spoke of the airport example, but while taking that path, people close to us term it as an action of running away from necessary responsibilities. No, how is it? No, Nipun, that is not how it is. Because I told you on the way to the airport, you can drop off the dry cleaning, that's taking care of responsibility. You pick up something else, that's taking care of responsibility. You visit a friend, that is taking care of responsibility. Yeah. So you are not running away at all. That's why there is a slow road. That is not running away. And especially when the class is being streamed to your house, where you don't have to run at all. Where are you running? उधर ही बैठ के सब हो रहा है ना? Yeah. So, good question. So, if there is no such thing as free will, how do we do it? In the relative sense, there is free will. Yeah. Yes, in the absolute sense, the free will is also given, but then in the relative sense, the free will is there for the sake of learning how to drive. Here is a very nice question. What's the ideal age for the person to get a license and to be told to drive safely? So the ideal age depends on one's own karmas. So that is, generally you can teach even children. You can teach dharma. It's not that the teaching differs, how you teach differs. Like today what we heard was at a pretty high level, but you can teach the same thing to the children. Yeah, you can teach the same thing to the children. So Sam joined only today. Who are you? Are you another friend of Prashant? Free will and destiny, they are conflicting ideas. Krishna told Arjuna everything has been decided, he should only act as a script. Yeah, that is true. They are not conflicting ideas. Free will is within destiny. That's what it is. Is it wrong to eat meat? When not eating meat will cause me extreme harm. I have a medical condition that does not allow me to be a vegetarian and be healthy. Yes, you can eat meat. If that is the thing. Yeah. Oh, Sam's real name is Geeta. Okay. Oh, you're a yeah, welcome. You're a friend of Prem Khilnani. Very nice. Yeah, welcome. Very nice. So, there was one question here. Yes.
Yeah, just because it's been touched on a couple times, the idea of the sannyasa is like the instant kind of moksha thing.
No, it's not instant moksha. No, no, no.
Well, it should be. Well, I guess what I'm really stuck on is that idea of that there's degrees of moksha. You know what I'm saying?
There is no degree of moksha. It's like saying, do you want to pursue something right now? Just a second, okay? Yeah, I'll give you. Yeah, so do you want to pursue something right now? You want to pursue. You want to gain it right now. It's the intensity of the intent. That's the only difference. So do you want something right now, or do you want something not so badly but along with other things? That's what it is. So it's not like instant moksha, like instant coffee. I wish it was so simple. Yeah. Then all we have to do is go to the fabric store and get some orange thing, and then everybody wears, and it should be very easy. Orange is equal to moksha. Unfortunately, it's not that. That's not the thing. So what it signifies is the intensity of the pursuit. Yeah. So the pursuit, is it done exclusively or inclusively? If it's an exclusive pursuit, it is called sannyasa. If it is an inclusive pursuit, it is called karma yoga. But the pursuit is the same. Everybody has to have self-knowledge. Either you do that alongside other responsibilities, or you do that, solely by dropping every other role. That is it's the method. You see, it's the method that changes. It's not the way. The way is the same. The destination is the same. The method changes. The mode of transportation is different. When you go by the supersonic jet, that's the mode of transportation. And the road being yourself and the way being yourself, the going is all within parentheses, within apostrophes. And the other one you go on, bullock cart. That's all, Yeah.
I thought it was
So like there's some point when someone says, "Congratulations, you're here," or
nobody has to say. You yourself will know. You yourself will know. Nobody has to say anything. Nobody has to say, "Oh, Jagdisha is back. Did you have a good time?" Yeah, good. Oh, can you please repeat the audience's questions? Oh, yeah, sure. The first one, this one was, if sannyasa, this one was something that Arjuna keeps asking. If sannyasa is instant moksha, why are you asking us to do karma yoga? That was basically the question. And then what did you ask earlier? What was your question? No, his, yeah.
Mine was about Krishna being the charioteer.
If Buddhi, if Buddhi is the charioteer, here in the story of Bhagavad Gita, Buddhi is Lord Krishna. So where are we going to bring Krishna to sit in the Buddhi? And the truth of the Buddhi is Lord Krishna. Bhagavan should abide in the buddhi. We'll come to that. When one worships Ishvara in formless form of linga, should they first worship Sri Ganesh, since Sri Ganesh is the form of the formless? You can do that. Yeah. Worship Ganesha and then worship linga. Wonderful. I'm glad you had a good time. Good to see you back.
So through Karma Yoga one can reach moksha?
Yes, Karma Yoga, one can reach moksha, but Karma Yoga, let's not forget, is not just doing, karma and dedicating the actions to the Lord and receiving prasada. Karma Yoga is a preparation for moksha. Yeah, it's a preparation. How do you reach moksha? Knowledge. Sannyasi also has to pursue knowledge, and the Karma Yogi also has to pursue knowledge. But must one worship through the Sri Ganesha? No. One must not do anything. There is no musts. Yeah. Linga is a formless form. It's the final frontier of formlessness. Shivalinga. Because if when all the forms are packed into one form, that is what is Linga. Free will and destiny, they are conflicting ideas. Oh, this was, you already said this earlier. I read it, yeah. They are not conflicting ideas. Free will is within the larger scope. Yeah. Okay. Hari Om. Hari Om.